Chief Secretary, Dr. Rushwaya. Thank you, members of the Fourth Estate, for coming to the 8th Post-Cabinet Press Briefing Session. Cabinet received a report from the Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, Honorable Masike, and would like to inform the nation that the government of Zimbabwe will be hosting a delegation from the office of His Royal Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Maktoum, who is also the Vice President and Prime Minister of the United Arab Emirates and the ruler of Dubai. The delegation is coming under the auspices of an MOU focusing primarily on the improvement and development of government services, which was signed between the Republic of Zimbabwe and the UAE in February this year. A major part of the MOU is the Government Experience Exchange Program. Cabinet also received and adopted a report on the responsible mining audit as presented by the Minister of Mines and Mining Development, Honorable Jemu Soda. The nation is being informed that His Excellency, the President, Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, launched a responsible mining audit on 11 May 2023 aimed at ensuring that all mining operations are conducted in compliance with the country's laws. The audit was conducted in 8 of the country's provinces, namely Mashonaland Central Province, Midlands Province, Masvingo Province, Manicaland Province, Matabeleland North Province, Matabeleland South Province, Mashonaland West, and Mashonaland East Provinces. The audit managed to cover 422 mining locations in the 8 provinces. The nation is being informed that large-scale mines with at least 1,000 employees are to a large extent complying with the mining legislation, the environmental legislation, and Zimbabwe Revenue Authority. And in addition to that, there is also compliance in terms of energy, labor, and immigration legislation. There are, however, isolated cases where immigration laws are being violated. Regarding small-scale mines with a labor force of up to 200 employees, the audit established that most of them are not complying with other requirements. And the nation is informed that for the above challenges, some corrective action has been taken, including the imposition of fines, the confiscation of explosives, suspensions from operating licenses, cautions with instructions to regularize within a stipulated time frame. The responsible mining audit came up with a number of useful recommendations which the government of Zimbabwe is implementing, and that the interministerial committee should continue to develop other solutions. Cabinet also received a second update on the Harare Metropolitan Province Emergency Solid Waste Management Program as presented by the Minister of Environment, Climate and Wildlife, Honorable Mangaliso Ndlovu. The nation is informed that the Emergency Solid Waste Management Program is a response to the deplorable state of management in the Harare Metropolitan Province. Treasury released the first tranche of the 3 equal releases of US $700,000 on the 23rd of October 2023. And as at 8 November 2023, a cumulative amount of 1,083 in terms of the total illegal dumps had been cleared, translating to 54% of the target. The main focus in the next 6 weeks will be to clear all the remaining dumps. The target is to clear the following waste dumps in terms of numerical order: 10 per day in Harare, 9 per day in Chitungwiza, 2 per day in Epworth, and 2 per day in Rua. The nation is being informed that the government of Zimbabwe has directed CMED to assess all trucks, tippers, tractors, and compactors in the 4 local authorities that require repairs, with a view of cutting down the cost of hiring equipment. CMED has since identified the vehicles and will be incorporated in the existing fleet. The Environmental Management Authority has transferred finances to CMED for the repairs that should be completed within a week. Dema and the task force team has developed a schedule of solid waste collection in most communities, which will be implemented from 13 November 2023. The target is to collect solid waste at least once per week at each household. The nation is advised that CMED is in the process of opening access roads in informal and formal communities which are inaccessible for the collection of waste. All local authorities have been directed to ring-fence funds levied for waste collection, and the funds will be utilized for the purpose. The same local authorities have been further directed to ensure that each business premise has a bin and that the frontages of the premises are kept clean. Cabinet also received a report on the Saudi Africa Summit as presented by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Honorable Dr. Frederick Shaba. The nation is being informed that His Excellency the President, Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, led the Zimbabwean delegation to the first Saudi Africa Summit hosted by the King of Saudi Arabia, His Highness Salman bin Al Saudi, from the 9th to the 12th of November 2023. A total of 54 African countries were represented, with 23 heads of state and at the same time at government level. The nation is being informed that several issues of mutual concern were discussed with respect to economic ties, food security, counter-terrorism, and combating extremism, humanitarian and health issues, and the cultural cooperation. More than 50 cooperation agreements in the fields of political, economic, and development were signed between Saudi Arabia and African countries. Saudi Arabia pledged US $50 billion towards Africa's economic development over the next 7 years. The nation is further informed that His Excellency the President, Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, held meetings with the following: the President of the Republic of Mozambique, President Nyusi, the Minister of Investment of Saudi Arabia, and 10 Saudi companies interested in investing in Zimbabwe. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Dr. Frederick Shaba, reported on the 3rd Intra-Africa Trade Fair held in Cairo, Egypt, from the 9th to the 15th of November 2023. The nation is informed that His Excellency the President, Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, led a delegation to the fair, whose objective was to create avenues to harness trade and investment opportunities through the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Zimbabwe, Egypt, Botswana, Malawi, Benin, Chad, and 2 financial institutions, Afrexim Bank and Arise Integrated Industrial Platforms, signed the Export Agriculture for Food Security Initiative. Afrexim Bank is committing billions in order to boost production, processing, and the intra-African trade in agricultural products, and Zimbabwe is expected to benefit from the fund. The nation is further informed that His Excellency the President held bilateral meetings where issues of mutual interest were discussed with his counterpart, who is also the President of the Republic of Egypt. He also held discussions with the Chairman and CEO of Evergreen Private Limited and the President of the Afrexim Bank, Professor Benedict Orama. His Excellency the President also had a successful, well-attended, interactive engagement with the Zimbabwean diaspora living in Egypt. Cabinet received an update on the cholera situation as presented by the Minister of Health and Child Care, Honorable Dr. Douglas Mombeshora. The nation is informed that the Minister of Health and Child Care, after noting that 80% of the 90 new cholera cases reported in Harare were in Kwadzana, visited the area accompanied by the Mayor of Harare, the Director of Harare City Health, and an engineer in the Department of Refuse Collection to get first-hand information. The team observed the following: that residents in the particular area are not getting potable water, as Harare City Council was failing to pump adequate water due to problems at Morton Jeffrey Waterworks. That the Harare City Council was failing to manage the challenges. The nation is advised that Cabinet is directed as follows: that clean water be availed to the residents in order to reduce cholera incidences, that the Civil Protection Act be activated in the city of Harare, and that the central government, working together with the media industry, take media tours in order to analyze the situation continuously. The Minister of Mines and Mining Development, Honorable Jemusoda, reported on the Mining, Engineering and Transport ENTRA, which was held from the 1st to the 3rd of November 2023 in Bulawayo province. The Mine ENTRA was held under the theme Accelerating Economic Growth through Mineral Beneficiation. The nation is informed that this exhibition was vital in promoting local and international investment, as well as clarifying the needs of the Ministry of Mines and Mining Development's clients. Cabinet also received reports on the progress made in the implementation of priority projects for the third 100-day cycle for the year 2023, as presented by the Ministers of Industry and Commerce, the Minister of ICT, Postal and Courier Services, the Minister of Energy and Power Development, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade. The Minister of Industry and Commerce, Honorable Dr. Stembisonyoni, reported on progress recorded for projects under her purview as follows: that pertaining to the resuscitation of David Whitehead textiles plant in Mashonaland West Province, the installation of spinning equipment at Kadoma plant is at 95% in terms of completion, and that the civil works and plant installations are at 85% and 80% respectively. That the installation of the margarine plant at Willowton, Zimbabwe in Mutare is at 95% in terms of completion, and that the installation of a stock feed plant at Davika Private Limited in Harare Metropolitan Province is at 95% in terms of completion. Regarding the installation of chilled water plant at Dairy Board in Chipinge, civil works for the plant is now at 10% in terms of completion, and the construction of ferrochrome production plant by Zimbabwe's Zhongshin Smelting Company in Masvingo Province is 100% in terms of completion, whilst construction of the power substation is at 90%. The Minister of Energy and Power Development, Honorable Edgar Moyo, reported progress on projects under his purview as follows. That the 82-kilometer Alaska-Karoi power transmission rehabilitation project is at 82% in terms of completion, and that the Hakatwa community solar project is at 70% in terms of completion. That the construction of 2,000 metric tons of Ruwa LPG storage facility has reached 100% in terms of completion, and that the Great Zimbabwe 5 megawatts mini hydro power plant is at 70% in terms of completion. The Minister of ICT, Postal and Courier Services, Honorable Mabetera, reported on progress recorded for projects under the ministry's purview as follows. That the deployment of 10 community information centers in Matabeleland South, Mashonaland West, Manicaland and Harare Metropolitan Province is at 80% in terms of completion. That the deployment of 56 base stations in Harare, Masvingo, Mashonaland East, Mashonaland West, Manicaland is at 70% in terms of completion. Pertaining to the fiber to the home project, the feeder network construction and the cable stringing for the FDH01 are complete. And with regard to the long-term evolution project in Harare, equipment installation, testing and commissioning is on course, and that the installation of 2 wireless radio base stations in Norton and Chegutu is at 80% in terms of completion. Cabinet also considered and approved an MOU between the Republic of Zimbabwe and the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria on cooperation in the field of archives as presented by the Minister of Home Affairs and Cultural Heritage, Honorable Kazembe Kazembe. The nation is informed that the MOU provides for cooperation in the field of archives preservation, restoration, digitization, digitalization, indexation, and publication. The parties will exchange archives, guidebooks, and inventories, exchange information in the area of archives management, and cooperate in digitizing the databases of cultural heritage properties on the digitized format and in terms of the online ecosystems. Cabinet further advises that the parties will exchange experts in the field of archives to share knowledge on modern technologies and restoration activities, as well as identify management skills in the 2 countries. Furthermore, the 2 countries will organize training courses, workshops, seminars, and exhibitions on archives and scientific research and Studies. Regarding the intellectual property rights, the parties will jointly own any results from research conducted under the MOUs. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister, for the presentation. We now move to the first set of 3 questions. Over to you, members of the press. Any questions? Yes.
Thank you very much, Chief. My question goes to the Minister of ICT. Just to begin with, what is the purpose of the 2 wireless radio stations that have been reported? Maybe we also take advantage of that to ask the issue of the government policy on the artificial intelligence. Where are we as a country in terms of coming up with a policy that deals with artificial intelligence? And lastly, more importantly, the issue of Starlink. It's something that is a country we seem to be lagging behind on the level of competition. What is government policy in terms of Starlink revolution, I would say? Thank you. Concerning with me.
Yes, anybody else? Yes, madam.
Thank you very much, Secretary. My name is Rumi Zaizin, okay? I'm with the Herald. My question is directed to the Minister of Health. We've seen areas like Kwazana and Chitumbiza that always have problems of sewer beds, and some of these are even flowing in the houses. And in this era of cholera outbreak, what are the government's long-term plans in terms of addressing some of these challenges that councils seem to be struggling to address?
Thank you very much. Any chair, let's respond.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Secretary. The first question is with respect to the purpose of the wireless stations and what is government's policy on artificial intelligence and the issue of Starlink. The question was, we seem to be lagging behind what is government's a policy position, and the question are directed to Honorable Mavetera. Honorable Mavetera, can you respond?
Thank you very much. The Honorable Chair, who is the Honorable Minister of Information and Publicity. Okay, let me also thank the journalist. I didn't quite get your name. You said your name is? Kolisani.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Kolisani, for your questions. Okay, I'll start on the first one, on the need for the 2 wireless connections. Indeed, as a country, we have got connectivity that is also, which uses wires, and it is quite important for us to then be able to enhance our connectivity. So we are using wireless connections to also make sure that we enhance connectivity, and that is why we have those 2. So we are also making sure that at least we've got wireless devices that we use to also connect to wired network that we have in the country. So that is the purpose of those 2. The second question was the issue of AI. Yes, it's not a secret that we've got a lot of disruptive technologies that we have that are also coming through. We have got even Internet of Things. We also have got AI. And even recently today, as the Minister of ICT, we had a workshop that we had. And what we've also managed to do as a ministry is we're working on an AI policy. All these technologies, we need to be able to also adopt them, because this is where the world is going to. So we're coming up with an AI strategy, and of course then policy also coming through, so that at least we can then be able to also adopt this. But it's not only the only one, we're also looking at us even engaging big data and also to see all the other technologies that you can think of that are quite disruptive. And as a country, we're very much willing to adopt this and also come up with a policy to that effect. The third issue is on Starlink. I've responded to this a couple of times. And the issue of Starlink, Zimbabwe is open for business. And one thing we need to understand and appreciate is we've got a re-engagement agenda that we have as a country. And we have been very clear to say that we are very much willing to also adopt any new ways that we make sure that we enhance our digital footprint as a country. And you realize that the issue of connectivity is something that we're very much obsessed with as a ministry. And what are we then doing? Satellite technologies, these are low orbit technologies that we also need to also adopt as a country. And maybe that we can appreciate that Africom is one which is already having that. And I think we have already started embracing satellite technologies. So Starlink is just one. But Starlink, the position in Starlink is that they communicated to Portras that they are willing to want to engage with the Zimbabwean government. But until today, they've not even paid for the application fees. And it is Portras, their structure is that they're supposed to any country that is, any company that is willing to also trade or to also be having a telecoms license, they also need to also make sure that they pay a certain figure that is there. So because of that, Starlink has not been able to do that. They've said they want to, but they've not been able to come back to Portras. This is the latest that I got from Portras. But of course, we are also working flat out to also make sure that we have got a reliable connectivity and also affordable data are also coming through to all the citizens of Zimbabwe. We've got a social contract with the people of Zimbabwe, and indeed it's quite important for us to make sure that we provide reliable services and also we also provide connectivity at its best. And I believe that is what we're working towards. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Let us move to the last. For the health one. Okay.
Yes, Chief Secretary. The other question is coming from Herald, that there seem to be challenges in Harare and Chitungwiza in the context of the outbreak of cholera and sewer, which she said has been flowing in the streets. That what is the Ministry of Health's plan to manage cholera?
Thank you very much, Chairman, and thank you, Mzai, for your question. But maybe I just want to correct it. She is asking the government's long-term plan to deal with the sewer pests in mainly Chitungwiza and Kwata. But before I go on to answer your questions, I just want to make a comment. Yesterday I was in Kuwadzana looking at the causes why we have cholera cases more in Chitungwiza and Kuwadzana. So I went to Kuwadzana specifically to look at the infrastructure there, how they are living, so that we can get correct information and we can tackle the cholera upsurge. It's regrettable that some of our own Zimbabwean citizens, I'm sure you've seen it on social media with my picture and my team saying I'd gone there to commission a well. No, we're actually talking about why these kind of wells, shallow wells, are contaminated, because in that area they are almost co-located with the pit latrines. But anyway, coming to your question, there's something in common between Chitungwiza and Kuwadzana. First of all, we sent a team to Chitungwiza, St. Mary's. St. Mary's in particular, that's where we had a lot of these cholera cases, and we've set up a cholera treatment camp in St. Mary's. And yesterday, I also went to Kuwadzana, and what we have discovered is that there is poor provision of safe drinking water. You know, cholera is related to, put simply, you have eaten your feces. So it's an issue of good hygienic practice. So in St. Mary's, we also realized that there was a lot of sewage spilling. St. Mary's is a very old suburb, and most of the pipes are now old and they burst easily. And there's also a common thing of poor water supply, although the poor water supply applies to many suburbs in Harare. The common thing in Kuwazana was also burst sewer pipes. As I moved around, these sewer pipes were blocked. Most of them, we found that there were stones, clothes, even pampers thrown in there. Some spoons, we were shown spoons that were removed from these pipes. Why people do that, I cannot say, but in some cases we were told they wanted, when there's backlash of the water, sewer water, then it spills onto the ground, and the ground where it was spilling, people use it to water their gardens. Another common thing was lack of adequate water supply. In both these areas, in Chitungweza, in St. Mary's, they were getting water about twice a week, and in Chitungweza, they were getting water once every 5 days. The problem being the Morton Jeffrey pumping station had no electricity. I think 3 or so weeks ago, there was a storm, and the main line, which is a dedicated line to Morton Jeffrey, it collapsed, and it hasn't been repaired. So when we look at a holistic picture, we want to say it's the responsibility of the city council. But when the city council is failing, then the government comes in. So government is coming in now to make sure that electricity is supplied so that there is constant water supply, fresh water supply, usable in the households for drinking and for cooking. And also when you have got a constant water supply, it means people can flush their toilets. Now, if people can't flush their toilets because there is no adequate water supply, there is a high possibility of the sewer blocking because of solid waste, which will be now not moving because there is no adequate water. Then the other issue that government is going to do is to remove the garbage, because when you have a lot of dirt, people are also throwing nappies on piles of garbage along the roads. That garbage needs to be collected. Again, city of Harare is failing. They were saying they only have 14 compactors, when in actual fact they said they needed 45. So government is coming up with a plan to see if they can assist the city of Harare by repairing some of those compactors, and also coming up with a plan of hiring tipper trucks to load the garbage, the solid waste, and dumping it where it's supposed to be dumped, and remove all the illegal dumps. So those are long-term measures. But in the interim, we are also planning to remove vendors who are in the streets, who are doing illegal vending. Some of them are selling vegetables that have been harvested from fields which are being watered by sewage water. These are contaminated, and some of them are finding their ways to Masike and other vending sites. We are also working on, as government, in the long term, to make sure that the sewer treatment plants in Korobra are repaired. There are 3 sites there which are not working, and as a result, that sewage is being discharged into Lake Chiwero raw, and that's not acceptable. So we are seeing failure on the part of the city of Harare to manage what they are supposed to manage, and the government is coming in to assist. So we will assist them as government so that all these challenges are corrected. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mobeshora. I'm sure we are all aware that there are challenges with the Harare City Council in terms of there are shortcomings to manage some of these water and sewer challenges. But to add what Dr. Mbeshwara said, on 2 occasions, in terms of our post-cabinet briefing sessions, government availed a short-term to medium-term plan under the leadership of Minister of Lands, Honorable Dr. Masuka, and some of the raft of measures that he included also included the rehabilitation and refurbishment of water reticulation sites, the piping of water from Wenimbi Dam to Harare, the development in terms of a long-term plan and construction of the Kunji Dam, the upgrading of water purification and water reticulation systems, the interventions and initiatives from the Ministry of Environment, as well as the drilling of bores in order to augment water supplies, as well as the repair and rehabilitation of a number of sewer and clean water infrastructure. Chief Secretary, I think I can hand you over so that you can have the second cycle.
Yes, can we now have the last round of 3 questions? Last round of 3 questions. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Secretary. It's Mogabe from the Herald. My question is directed to the Minister of Mines and Mining Development. What is government doing, especially with small-scale miners who are practicing irresponsible mining, and there are areas where that was subjected to irresponsible mining activities? What will then government do for those environments so that they become safe for animals and people who live there?
Any other question? Yes.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. Mogabe from the Herald. My question is directed to the Minister of Energy. Government is doing a lot of there are a lot of long-term, short-term projects that they are doing to improve the country's energy supply. When can we expect the issue of power outages to end so that we can have enough energy to sustain the local demand?
Any other question? There's none, Chair. Let's respond to those 2.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. The first question is directed to the Minister of Mines, in that what is government doing in terms of the small-scale miners who have not been implementing or conducting responsible mining. And the second question is directed to the Minister of Energy and Power Development, that when can we expect the issue of power outages to end? Thank you. Honorable Minister of Mines, Honorable Soda.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister and Chair. The question from Mugabe is to do with small-scale mining, and the concern being on the land degradation, and how government is ensuring that there is rehabilitation of the land so that we don't have problems with animals, especially in areas where mining activities are being conducted. You will agree that the government has not folded its hands already through the mining audit, the intention was to ascertain the level to which the land is being disturbed by the various mining activities, and then to come up with mechanisms of ensuring that land which would have been disturbed through mining activities is rehabilitated. What cabinets agreed or resolved to do is to tie the issuance of mining titles to compliances, to the extent that in future, when a mining title is being issued or awarded to an applicant, there must be satisfaction that all environmental and other relevant legislative requirements would have been satisfied by the miner. For instance, the issuance of the environmental impact assessment report. That will apply at the time of application for a new mining title, and also on the renewals for the mining titles. There has to be compliance with environmental requirements. So this is what we will continue to do, and we hope by doing so, there is going to be compliance, because all titles have to be issued by the Ministry of Mines for mining activities to be conducted, and that can only happen when one would have given proof and evidence that they are complying with the requirements of the environmental requirements. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Soda Jenu. The next question is directed to the Minister of Energy and Power Development, Honorable Edgar Moyo.
Thank you very much, Comrade Chairman. The question to me seems to seek the exact date when load shedding is going to end. And that is a difficult one, because energy sufficiency is always a moving target for a number of reasons. We need to understand why there is load shedding. Load shedding occurs as a result of a power supply gap, that is supply and the demand gap. And that demand gap is occasioned by a number of factors, one of which that we are currently experiencing is that Kariba, as a source of generation, is installed to generate 1,050 megawatts of power. But then, because of hydrological reasons, the low water levels at Kariba Dam were only able to do between 250 and 300 megawatts. Already, our capacity is already depleted to the tune of about 800 megawatts on that generation station alone. Secondly, we have had an outage as a result of Class C maintenance works in Unit 7 in Whitehead, which is going to come back to service around the 27th of this month. That should then help us to bring back about 300 megawatts to the grid. Then the other reason is the low generation levels of units 1 to 6 as a result of their age. And then to mitigate that, we are currently doing repowering on some of those units. We have been doing Unit 4, which came on board yesterday. So that added with what we're going to get on the 21st with another unit in Wangi, and also the coming back to service of Unit 7 is going to help reduce, but may not necessarily eliminate load shedding. One allusion that I've given is that when you have a vehicle, it might be new, and then you experience a tire puncture. It does not mean that you no longer have then you have suffered a setback. So these setbacks that we are trying to address, some of the measures that we are putting in place to address this power supply problem is embracing renewable energy through solar. And we have a number of companies that have come through. At the moment, those that have shown seriousness and have gone some way in developing projects, solar projects, are around 20. And last week we had meetings with these companies, and most of them are already beginning to work on the development of these solar projects. The other way is through dedicated projects by different mining companies, especially, who are developing their own generation plants to supply their operations and sell excess to the grid. So these are some of the measures, but we think generally towards the end of this month, November, we're going to see an easing of the load shedding burden.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Over to you, Chief Secretary.
Thank you very much, Chair. We have come to the end of today's session.